Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijan Genco. I'm your host. This is an original podcast from Genco Coaching. And we are going to have a special episode today. It is about remembering Thomas Leonard and significant figure in the coaching world. And who is better to accompany me on that special edition besides Marion Franklin? And Marion is an icon in the coaching world. It requires no introduction to somebody who's listening to this podcast. Welcome, Marion. So nice to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Tishan. I really appreciate that. I don't know why people keep thinking that, yeah, I've been called some interesting things lately, like rock star. And I'm thinking, no, I'm just a regular person.
Regular person, maybe, but a wonderful coach. So, Marion, what would you like our audience to know about your coaching and the way it was influenced by Thomas Leonard?
Yeah, this could be like a 24-hour discussion because once I get going, all right. Well, first of all, I was just telling the story recently. Thomas Leonard initially was very elusive. Nobody ever saw what he looked like. We only got emails. And he consistently sent out this top 10 list. And it could be, top 10 ways to coach someone who talks too much, or top 10 things a coach needs to do, whatever. And this came pretty consistently. And I would read them and I would think, this guy must be so old because nobody knows what he looks like. And we keep getting these emails. And it turned out, I can't remember the year. I think it might have been 2000. And Thomas decided that the reason nobody had ever seen him or anything was because he was actually inside very introverted and shy, which nobody would have ever guessed. And he really didn't like being with people. And so it was around, I think it was 2000, he decided to buy an RV and literally go to just about every state in the country and do some kind of presentation talk. So when he was coming to New York City, of course, I was really excited. And I went to I can still remember it so vividly. And the first time I laid out eyes on him, I probably even said out loud, "Oh my God." So here's this young man. And so he spoke with us. And then afterwards, I went up to him and I said, I was always picturing you like Colonel Sanders. And I'm really shocked. And then I, of course, became an avid follower. And I remember a specific conference, and I don't remember where it was now, but there was a big coaching conference. And I remember going up to him and because he had labeled coaches as either you were a personal coach or a business coach. Those were the two categories we had. And I said to him, when I think about it, it really shouldn't matter whether it's business or personal. We're dealing with human beings, isn't it? Like life coaching. And he looked at me and he said, "Yes, it really is." Like this was like a revelation. It was pretty funny. Now, I don't know if I was the one who started that, but I know I came up with the term life coaching because I was so annoyed with this personal and business thing. Anyway, so in order to describe Thomas, there really are, seriously, there are no words because unless you were there, you cannot imagine, and I mean that seriously, you cannot imagine how prolific he was. Every day there was an email of some quality. He had when he started, well, he originally was part of ICF and then had some kind of a tiff, I'm not quite sure exactly, and started Coachville,
Mhm.
and created the proficiencies to go up against the competencies. So there was a lot of, behind the scenes stuff. And he started this Coachville, and he probably had, I'm guessing it was about 1,000 people on the team initially. And what he would do is he would send out emails just about, I mean, probably every day, and he would ask us a question. And if the majority of people thought it was a good idea, he would go ahead. And if the majority of people thought it wasn't a good idea, he wouldn't do it, whatever it was that he was suggesting. And just to give people an example of how amazing, I'm sorry, my eyes are really bad today. He sent out, well, of course, in those days, don't forget, things weren't like they are now with Zoom, and even,
Yeah.
Skype was just starting. But he sent out a CD to all the people that probably those 1,000 people. And on that CD, which I still have, 500 coaching forms.
Mm.
That was just one little thing. He created all these programs, the personal foundation, the absence of, the how to coach anyone. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And he would teach his, a lot of the classes. And I remember even with personal foundations, which had 25 chapters at the time, I basically had a hard time with the way it was structured. And so I was on a call with him and a bunch of other people, and I said something, and he said, "You know what? You're absolutely right. So why don't you and head up a committee and rewrite and redo the personal foundations?" So we did, and we shortened it, and we emphasized the ones that really needed emphasizing, and moved on from there. The other thing that was so amazing, so here's a man over the years who probably had, I'm going to guess, at least 5,000 people on his list. I mean, in those days, that was, astronomical. And no matter what, he answered every email every day. It might be one word, one sentence, and he always signed it with a little T. And that was it. But he always did that. And the other thing he did that was so phenomenal was about once a month, he would open up his phone line for a certain period of time. And if you were lucky enough, you could reach him and ask him any question. And I remember asking him, I was trying to decide between two things. I can't remember now what it is. And I did remember a while ago, but right now I can't think of it. And he said to me, "Why does it have to be either or?" And oh my God, the light bulb that went off, which is how I came up with that whole theme about either or, because, it was just from that little comment. And I think the things that I got from him that really made a difference was he was very big on laser coaching. And he called it finding the truth, and um, and doing it by eliminating all the things that were perception, which is basically the foundation of coaching as far as I'm concerned. And he would demonstrate, how to do it and the kinds of questions to ask. And I'm just going to think, oh yeah. So the other thing, the first question that I came up with, that I have in my book about why is he or she telling me this, that I think was my own thing, because I kept thinking, why do they keep sticking in things that don't seem relevant? Why are they bothering to say those things? And that's when I realized it helps for the listening, because you're like, well, wait, why did they tell me they had a fight this morning, but they want to talk about something at work? Why bother even sharing that? So that's where I got the whole by the way comment thing. But then I directly got from Thomas, I would not take credit, um, the other question, which is, what is making this a problem for this person?
Mm.
And when you think about it, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because the next person wouldn't be having that problem with the same exact circumstances. So, what makes this person stuck? And I found that to be really, really profound in so many ways. So, I would say he definitely gave this influence. And in 2003, in February of 2003, he was 47, I believe, maybe 48, but I think 47. And suddenly we get this message that he's dropped dead. He had a heart attack and dropped dead. And the first thing that came to me was, oh my God, this is the end of coaching.
Mm.
Like it's just going to be the end. And it turned out that there were some fabulous people who were right up there with him who kept it going until, circumstances and became different. But at least initially, they kept it going. And I think that then I wound up when I didn't get actually trained fully by Thomas. I took many of his classes. I taught uh, classes for, Coachville at the time. But I learned from a psychotherapist who had become a coach. So that gave me a lot of the psychology part of understanding human behavior. And then I took that and I meshed it with all of the Thomas stuff. And so I feel in so many ways that what I offer is like I've become a disciple of Thomas in a way, almost like I'm channeling so much of his stuff. I'm missing, obviously, a huge amount of it, but the gist of laser focused coaching is really coming out of that kind of, I want to say, finding the truth, learning, and helping clients. The influence was definitely all straight up Thomas. And a lot of the things I teach, come like straight from him.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for all that. And Marion, the way you're painting Thomas is such a creative and very giving person. And along with you also shared your creativity. And I know that I was one of your mentees and know that how giving you are with your tools and your offerings. It's beautiful to experience. Um, Based on what you're sharing, it seems like that Thomas's influence, although it was an inverted person, his desire to give, impacted a lot of foundational members like you, the coaching and the coaching profession.
Oh, yeah.
What, if anything, would you like to say to that?
You mean how it impacted?
The coaching today, right? Because you are one of the originating members and hold the space for a lot of quality and efficacy of the coaching like others. So how would you think that Thomas's influences impacted those? I'm gonna say that like the not in a way to represent the age, rather the richness, the elders in the community that taught others how to be a coach.
Well, I mean, we have to start with his very original group, which had Jay Perry and Cheryl Richardson and Laura Berman Fortgang, among others. Um, and as we know, Cheryl Richardson, I think, she has 6 or 7 books now, and Laura Berman Fortgang also was, risen. Uh, so I think all of those people, um, more so than teaching coaching, I think most of them went on to just soaring in their careers and writing books and creating whatever they created. I think for me, the difference is that I was originally a high school teacher, and that part never really left me. The teaching is just who I am, and I mean, not literally, but it's like a part of me. So there aren't that many who are actually teaching the coaching. As I
Mm.
say, most of them took advantage, but that's not to say that all of them did webinars, seminars, conference speaking. And Shirley Anderson, and these are all people that I learned from as well. They had their own spin. Um, and they weren't teaching coaching so much as just sharing things with us that helped or demonstrated coaching, that kind of a thing. So I think it just took a different path for many of the people.
Mhm. And I know that having to learn those from you, as well as being an instructor in your laser focused coaching program, you still teach some of the foundational information, such as the proficiencies that Thomas presented to the world. Um, Anything else that might have been his influence together with yours? Or otherwise in your offerings today?
Well, first of all, I just want to clarify that I don't actually teach the proficiencies. I offer them as a resource because
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to teach them. Um, but that said, um, my gosh, I mean, just the shift, even not the mechanics of the shift so much, because that was kind of a combination between what I learned from Thomas and what I learned from
Yeah.
the original person. Um, but I think more the succinctness of coaching and the silence and the short, broad questions, that definitely comes from Thomas. Um, I think reflecting comes more not as much from Thomas because I think he just came out with the questions very often. But to me, the reflection is so important. So that I think was a different influence. So again, it's hard to really at this point separate, what came from where. But in general, the whole concept of laser focused coaching clearly came from Thomas.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, absolutely. And along with your own touch, right? Your spices.
Yes. Yeah. No, no, of course. I mean, that's the other thing that I think is distinct, is that people have dubbed it universal coaching. So, in other words, it's almost like you could coach almost anybody because it's not specific to certain problems. It's not
Yeah.
specific to certain types of people. It's just dealing with human beings at a real level. And I think that already makes it more unique than a real focus on a particular, whether it's ADHD or the health and wellness like you do, but a lot of the trainings are very focused on their specialty. And I think that makes it different because just even the what questions, even that, you don't need any specialty to be able to do
Right.
that, but it makes a huge difference. You get way better answers. So, yeah, so I think, I did take some of my own personal style, I guess we'll call it, like even direct communication,
Mhm.
coming up with those three ways, three guidelines to make it work. That's from the teaching part of me because Thomas definitely used direct communication, but he didn't break it down. Here's what has to happen, or here's how it doesn't work if you do it this. And so, yeah, that I think is part of my own thing, I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Beautiful and very efficient. So as we bringing this to closure, anything else then would be important for you to share about Thomas?
Oh my gosh. This brilliant, brilliant man. Well, just even as I say, meeting him in person over and over, and he actually shared many times how he didn't like being with people, and here he was in these conferences with 500 people. So that was always fascinating. Um, one thing that really stuck with me um, was it was at a conference, and somebody was looking to not, oh God, I can't come up with the word, wanted to change from their job to becoming a full-time coach. Transition, that's the word. And he very clearly said, keep your day job. And he said, you can do it part-time, and once it's going, that's different, but keep your day job. And and that really stuck with me a lot. And I think probably some of the themes that I've come up with came out of not, it's ironic, not just Thomas, but like Cheryl Richardson. She really taught me about boundaries. And
Mm.
and that became, a signature thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of some of, I mean, again, Thomas was just, it was constant, but his how to coach anyone was always a great email that came because he would come up with the one who talks too much, the one who doesn't want to share, the one who this or that. So that was good. And then he also did a lot of marketing, a whole, different programs on marketing. He created the Need Less program. They're just, it was just on and on and on. And I went to his actual memorial service in Manhattan when he died, and so many people got up to speak about, how amazing this man was. And I don't think he realized quite how amazing he was. And he
Mm.
did tell the story, which I guess I should share because it's a fun thing. The way he started from scratch was that he was, I don't know if it was an accountant or financial
Yeah.
planner,
Mhm.
something in that vein. And for me, it's just numbers and math. And he had this couple, and they were arguing about how to um, proceed money wise in terms of their vision for their life. And they had different viewpoints. And he said he really had to work with them to come up with a common vision. And when he told that story, it was such a light bulb moment for me. Yes, if two people don't have a common vision, they're never going to get what they want. And that's what helped him realize that people needed this kind of coaching versus his financial information. And so often I have worked with people who were in relationships. And one of the questions I've always asked is, so what is your vision of how this relationship should go? And what do you think your partner's vision is? And then they would give me like two distinct things. Well, she wants children and she wants a family, and I really don't. And I'm thinking, okay, we're done here. You're never going to stay together.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful, just that little story that he shared of how he got started.
Mhm. Beautiful. I mean, looks like he was a very creative, resourceful, and influential
Yeah.
person. I mean, it is often rare skill set to come. I don't know if anybody did the profiling for Thomas Leonard, but probably 1% of the population have all that
Well,
skill.
Vicky Brock did a 600 something page thesis
Ah.
on the origins of coaching and Thomas's portion in that. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that,
Amazing.
that must be somewhere in the ICF website, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, thank you for all that, Marion. So you did share some of his influence as well as your own influences in your teaching. And we did a little bit talk about the laser focused program, coaching
Mhm.
program. Anything else that you want our audience to know about your offerings that you'd like to share?
Sure. I still have three mentor groups going,
Mhm.
two evening groups and a day group, and there's always a waiting list. And the laser focus program, which is a 12-week program. But now I also have my second book, What Would a Wise Person Do? And that book for me seems to be um, so perfect for coaches, especially because, I mean, it's for anybody, but specifically for coaches because it's all about human behavior. It's
Mhm.
101 little short stories, and each one has not only a lot of easy examples to relate to, but always has an invitation to experiment and try something different. And and I think that book not only helps the coach themselves to grow and which is to me critical to be a great coach, you have to work on yourself, but also to understand their clients so much better,
Mhm.
to really be able to hone in when they hear certain things. Oh, wait, that's a boundary problem. Oh, wait, that's an authority issue, whatever. Just because they've read these stories and can identify. And when they hear similar things from their clients, they have a resource.
Absolutely. I remember you sharing that with me when you were mentoring me years ago. And it certainly is those of you who are watching and listening to this that helps you to get to the root cause of the issue, possibly what is being shared, instead of getting lost in the details. That so check that out, and we will put those in the show notes. In case you missed it in the beginning, this is Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijan Genco. I have beautiful and wonderful Marion Franklin with me. We've been talking about Thomas Leonard. And thank you so much, Marion, for being here
Oh,
today.
thank you. Thank you for having me. And talking about Thomas is just a no-brainer. It's just so easy. Yeah.
It's such a treat. And our listeners, please remember to subscribe to us if you liked what you heard. Until next time, take good care, everybody.